This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're back on the air. That's great. So I need a motion to adopt the meeting agenda.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Do we know at what time we dumped out?
Don't know yet, but there was, Megan indicated we were discussing assessments in our video class. I'm not sure about the audio.
I'm going
So,
to say it was 10:48 because I immediately called John when it went out, and that's what time I called.
okay. 10:48 is when we adjourned. So 10:49 would be the start of the new meeting. So why don't we start the meeting over?
Okay.
We have at least one of the two people that were observing the committee meetings back in the regular meeting. So if you gavel in
Okay.
the meeting at 10:56, I'll do the roll call again.
Okay.
Finkel, DeWitt, Candido, Hayes, Reagan, Allen.
Here.
Mr. Byrd is on the screen. Mr. Callahan, Mr. Leslie, Mr. Fultan, Mr. Minicha, and Ms. Rozicki are all here. Everybody's present. And now
Very
you're
good. Okay.
back on.
Now I need a motion to adopt the meeting agenda.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Hayes, Mr. DeWitt.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That moves us, we have no guests, to our public comment period. Anybody online want to comment or just address the board?
Mr. Merrick. And if we can ask, if Mr. Merrick still wants to speak, if I can ask Megan to unmute him and turn his camera on.
Mr. Myrick, are you there? He is unmuted, so he should be able to speak.
Well,
Again, is there any,
Pause again before that item, if we want to have an abundance of combination.
I think we could do that at your
okay, yeah, let's move
discretion.
on. Let's move on. I need approval of the May 14th, 24 regular board meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Any discussions, corrections, comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to report of our executive director, Mr. Callahan.
Mr. Chairman, my report appears on pages 77 and 78. In recognition of the robust agenda today, I will simply invite any questions the board may have. But before I do, just note, Mr. Minicha was exhaustive, I think, in thanking the administrations, the legislature, the staff, and now it's my turn. This has been an interesting evolution on the finances and finally being in a position to make the capital investments that Mr. Fultan has long planned and building on the great work of our general counsel and certainly the director of administrative services. But it marks a great, I think, evolution in our finances. And I think Mr. Minicha, not just for his great work, but the degree with which he has worked with the entire executive team here to put us in good shape going forward. It's a great day, I think, for the regulating district and certainly a team effort. With that, I'll pause for any questions the board may have.
Again, any questions, comments for the executive director? You know, I'm going to echo the praise for the work that was done here. Certainly a great step forward. With that, we'll move to contract actions. Motion to approve regulating district annual report, January 1st, 23 to December 31st, 23. Mr. Callahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This annual report was emailed to the board separately. You have a couple of copies here if anybody would care to take a look. but as the board is aware, this is required by statute. And we'll turn to MPC. If the board has had a chance to review the annual report, we ask for its adoption.
I need a motion to approve the report.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Allen,
Aye.
Mr. DeWitt.
Any opposed? Move on to staff and committee reports. With Finance Committee.
Resolution approving a budget for the Hudson River Black River Regulating District for the period July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. And fourth year projected financial plan for the period July 1, 2027 through June 30th, 2028.
We have a motion to that effect?
I will make that motion.
Mr. Hayes,
I'll second it.
Mr. Reagan.
Any further discussion, questions, comments? I know we covered this in the committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, next.
Resolution to approve the July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 Black River Area Assessment.
We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I will second that.
Mr. Reagan, Mr. Hayes.
Again, we did discuss this in committee. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Can we have a resolution to approve the July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 Black River Area New York State Share?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Reagan, Miss Allen.
Any further discussion, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Uh,
Motion carries. I'm sorry.
Can I have a resolution to approve the July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 Hudson River Area Assessment?
Motion?
I will make that motion.
A
Mr.
second.
Hayes,
I'll second.
Miss Allen.
Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And
And can we have a resolution to approve the July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 Hudson River Area New York State Share?
motion?
I'll make that motion.
Miss Allen.
Second?
I will second that.
Mr. Hayes.
Again, any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we move on to the Governance Committee. Mr. Candido.
Mr. Chairman, the committee has met and voted to move to the full board a resolution to award the regulating district's insurance program for policy year July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. DeWitt.
Second.
I will second that.
Mr. Hayes.
Any further discussion, questions? Again, this was all covered in committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Second, the committee has moved to the full board a resolution to approve insurance proposal for policy year July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
We have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Reagan.
Second.
I will second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, the committee has moved to the board a resolution to award the regulating district's marine insurance program and approve marine insurance proposal for policy year July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2025.
We have a motion? Motion to that?
I'll make that motion.
Miss Allen.
Second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Reagan.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have, the committee has approved the resolution that moves it to the full board to award the lease of operation to the Stillwater Hydro Plant and to Northern Power and Light, Inc.
Motion.
Mr. Chair, Once we've taken motions, is it your intention to open this up to
Yes.
further public comment?
Yes.
I believe we had one commenter who missed their opportunity during the
Yeah,
public
I
comment
do
period.
too. We want to, do we have a second to that motion?
Do we have a first?
Oh, do we have a first? to that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Hayes,
Second,
Mr. Reagan.
public comment.
Mr. Merrick, had you indicated previously that you'd be interested in speaking?
I have, if I can get you to work here.
Now, we can hear you.
We can hear you now.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm with Clifton Science and Engineering, and I'm the other bidder for the Stillwater Hydro. And I've carefully reviewed the analysis or the evaluation that was performed by the three people that did that, and I believe that's fatally flawed. For some reason, they didn't even accept the proposal I had for the amount of money. And so that you folks understand this, because it wasn't brought up in the governance committee, but that my bid is almost twice what Stillwater Associates is bidding. And not only that, but I have far more experience. I have 40 years experience in this thing, especially experience with FERC, which has Stillwater has very little experience, and then also with the type of machinery that's in that system. In fact, that was manufactured by Barber Associates out of Ontario, and I worked with them on a number of different projects, 30 years ago. So I'm real familiar with the equipment. I'm real familiar with the regulatory issues, and yet my bid was marked unresponsive, and it may be because it's so complicated. And I'm asking the board not to approve this contract, but to go back and reevaluate it and make a better assessment as to why mine was deemed unresponsive. Now, what I had done is there's a lot of uncertainty with regard to that contract. The contract may or may not be assumable, or it may or may not be cancelable. If it's assumable, the rate will be 2.4, or 8.2 or 8.4 cents. If it's not assumable and you can negotiate a new contract, the avoided cost is then approximately 10.2, 10 and a quarter, in that neighborhood. The third alternative I presented was we are working on a manufacturing facility that will convert electricity into hydrogen and then sell the hydrogen. And in that case, if we were to use the facilities or the energy coming off the Stillwater Hydro facility, then it would be even more valuable. And those are the options I presented, and that was necessary because there's so much uncertainty with regard to the contract. Even if you assume you can get the contract and get it transferred, there's nothing in the contract that I could find that said you could use the power yourself, one way or another. And depending on what the utility position is, it may or may not work. So there's so much uncertainty here, there's no way of knowing. But regardless of that, my bid under the existing contract, which is the lowest one, is almost twice as much as the Stillwater Associates proposal. And for some inexplicable reason, the evaluators just blew it off, and I think that's wrong, and that's why I'm wanting to explain that to the governance board, but I couldn't get my machines to work here. But I want to explain that to the full board and not to approve this thing, this contract that's before you, but to go back and reevaluate it and call up and ask questions about it. Apparently, it's too complicated and it wasn't well enough explained, but it's there. And so, if you folks approve this contract, you're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the contract, millions of dollars on the table. And I think that's a grave mistake for the board and for the public at large. So my request is that you go back, review it again, call me up, ask me questions so I can explain it. For example, there's a decision there that you're supposed to get 5 points if you're a small business, a certified small business. Well, I'm clearly a small business, but the question is, am I certified and who am I certified by? Well, I'm certified by the Small Business Administration, but I'm not certified by any entity in New York State. In fact, as far as I can tell, there is no certification. That may or may not be, but your requirements were that it be certified. Further, I can't find any information why Stillwater Associates is certified, although I'm sure it's a small business. But there's no indication of this information they submitted that they are certified. So I think there's also problems with the selection criteria. I think this whole thing is basically what's happened is a disaster, and I think you folks need to go back and review it. If you have any questions, please ask. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
So Northern Power and Light says $50,000 a year is what we're gonna get, right? Did I have that right, everybody?
Well, to begin.
To begin with, and then it goes up, but to begin with, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. And then Clifton Science and Engineering, how much are we gonna get a year that we can say, no matter what happens, this is how much we're getting?
Well, I think that's exactly the point. There was no matter what happens number. There were 3 scenarios, as Mr. Merrick indicated, based on a percentage of revenue or generation. And there was a reason why we specified the format in the RFP several times that we needed to see those rent proposals in so that we could evaluate apples to apples from every firm. And we knew no matter what, you're generating, you're not generating, something breaks, it doesn't break. This is the rent check that's going to come because our budget, looking forward 3 years, based to get to the assessments, to get to a financial plan that is balanced, prudent, we need certainty. And so that's why we formed it that way. And again, there were things in any RFP, as you're very carefully following the New York State procurement law, where you can suggest things, you can say preferred, you can say should, you can say may. But when you say must, and failure to do this must will result in a proposal being not accepted.
Non-responsive.
Non-responsive. Those are the things that proposers really need to pay attention to. And it's not arbitrary, it's not capricious. There's a reason why certain language is in there. And again, we had not only the benefit of the entire executive team here working over a long period of time to craft this thing and hopefully get it just right, but also our colleagues at the New York State Power Authority to make sure that we would get a proposal that was reasonable. The other thing I'll note, and I think it is also responsive to your question, Mr. Reagan, and Mr. Merrick indicated that the lower end of his spectrum was significantly higher, maybe he said double the rent proposal. That the rent proposal portion of the proposal only amounted or equated to 50% of the scoring process. The other 50% was a technical evaluation, and that is a process that independently Chief Counsel, the Director of Administrative Services, and the Chief Engineer went through, and then it was Tim's role to apply basically just the math calculation. And so I think even if this proposal had been responsive, which it absolutely clearly was not,
There's no indication that it would have been successful in any event, applying that low number, which you would need to do. But again, there's a reason why we wanted certainty in these proposals.
Okay, the question back to Clifton Science and Engineering, what's our guarantee per year that we're gonna get on that for the ones for 6 years, right? What's the guarantee that you're gonna guarantee us that you'll say right now we're gonna get per year?
Megan, is he unmuted?
He has the option to be, I can only send a request to unmute. So that has been sent. So Mr. Merrick, if you want to go ahead and unmute, you may answer their question.
So.
Well, that,
Okay.
I mean, if it's helpful, I can attempt
I
to.
just.
I'm now unmuted. Hello?
So the question was, what's your guarantee per year for the next 6 years?
If you look at the information I provided, I gave you, showed that over the last, I think it's about 45 years, the average revenues or average power production was 6 million, a little more than 6 million kilowatt hours. That's the average. And I also provided information that showed what the minimum was over that. And the minimums that I would provide was still greater than the Stillwater numbers. So the fact that there's a minimum, I've met that, and that's one of the things that's so puzzling about this evaluation. Let me further point out that if you look at the evaluation, and I've carefully done that, there's serious problems with it. One is the certification issues with the small business, where I got no credit, and the other side got 5 points, the maximum amount. But there are other issues under that that just don't make any sense. And I don't understand.
I just wanted to get an idea of what the guarantee was. So you.
Well, I can't. Let me get my computer here and bring that number up.
And that's what you would be willing to put in a contract, that you guarantee that we would get more than $50,000 a year.
I'll do that now. I'll guarantee it's more at least 50,000. That's easy. Let me find the.
Point.
No, that's not
We
it.
could do another competitive.
No, Bill,
procurement.
I'm not asking you to do that. He asked a question, I just want to know how much was he guaranteed.
And I think.
It didn't appear to us that he was guaranteeing anything, because the calculation of his annual income shared to the regulating district is a formula based on an estimate or an assumption of how much he would generate. Because it is a percentage of revenue based on an estimate of generation, if he theoretically didn't generate at all, there would be no revenue and he would provide nothing to us.
well, we have a motion on the table. Are there any other questions or comments?
Well, let me speak a little bit more. I can absolutely guarantee you, if you look at the documentation I provided, and I'm trying to find that now, is that the minimums that I would have provided under your system is that it was greater than $50,000. It was more than, in any given year, it would have been more than the amount of that Stillwater was offering. And the average amount over that period of time would have been more or almost double. And there are other problems with this evaluation. The evaluation said it was going to use a 6% discount rate. Well, the evaluation never mentions a 6% discount rate. It never happens. And so the way I'm looking at it is the evaluation is at least incomplete, but it's largely incorrect. And if you approve the evaluation from the evaluation from the existing one, then in that case, you're leaving huge amounts. You're leaving over the life of this thing probably at least $500,000, maybe $1 million, and it doesn't make any sense, particularly when I believe that the evaluation is so fatally flawed. And all I'm asking you to do is to go back, look it over, and understand what my proposal is.
We are confident that we understand his proposal. He will have an opportunity as the unsuccessful bidder to participate in a qualitative and quantitative analysis with Tim and I relative to the merits of his proposal. The application of the criteria used to determine that his bid was unsuccessful, because we believe that the debriefing will be held after a final award. The reasons why the winning proposal was successful, and to the extent practicable, we'll be able to provide general advice and guidance to the unsuccessful bidder concerning potential ways that future proposals, bids, or offers could be more responsive. Tim and I will contact Mr. Merrick within the next 24 hours to provide him with some dates upon which we can have that debriefing.
Okay.
And he has further recourse, as we state in the RFP, after the debriefing, all based on New York State procurement guidelines of other steps he can take after being debriefed.
Right. Any other questions, comments? I'll call a question. All in favor of, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Next.
That's 6-0 with Mr. Byrd not voting because of we didn't notice his remote participation.
Okay, number 5.
Okay. I have, excuse me. Number 5, we have a resolution, the committee has moved to the board a resolution to authorize the expenditure of additional funds to complete the Saginaw Field Office boathouse roof replacement.
We have a motion?
I would make that motion.
I will second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, the committee has moved to the board a resolution authorizing the expenditure of $6,607.80 for the purchase of 6 replacement sections of log boom for the Stillwater Dam.
Again, a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Sal and Mr. DeWitt.
Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have a resolution authorizing the executive director to negotiate and enter into an agreement with Interactive Media Consultants LLC.
Again, motion?
I would make that motion.
Mr. Hayes,
Second?
I'll second.
Mr. DeWitt.
Further discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, the committee has moved to the board a resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into an amendment to the April 2023 agreement with Logical Net for information technology services.
Again, finally, a motion?
Make the motion.
Ms. Allen,
Second?
Second.
Mr. DeWitt.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, Mr. Leslie, General Counsel report.
I would note that Erie's 90-day window to offer a substantive response to the General Recoveries Unit of the Office of the Attorney General's Civil Recoveries Bureau. Their March 15th letter. That 90-day period has expired. A meeting between OAG staff and counsel for Erie, let's just say it has not resolved the dispute. We know the AG is aware the 90 days has passed. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. So we anticipate shortly that they will move forward with construction of the summons a complaint necessary to bring this to court. We continue to work with Counsel for Stillwater Associates to close the sale of the hydroelectric plant at Stillwater. Just this morning, I received all of their documents back with some modifications, which I am unable to read on my iPhone. So I'll do that when I get back to the office. But it looks like we're probably going to close next Wednesday. Probably a little earlier. The concept is that we will give them a check. They will give us all the closing documents. I will hold them to become effective on June 30th at 11:59 p.m. kind of thing, so that we are ready to run on July 1 if we're able to finalize a contract with NP&L before July 1 to get the plant up and running. Between now and then, Rob is going to pray for rain so that we have water to release. Other than that, I guess I've been dealing with various contracting and permitting issues. There are a few out there. We have a dispute with a marina owner who has been unable to police the people that rent from him in order that those boaters not leave his dock by traversing across somebody else's non-commercial access permit, the swim area, creating a safety hazard. DEC has issued a notice of intent to modify that permit. The marina owner has contested that notice of intent to modify. DEC has indicated they are going forward full steam in order to modify the permit to alleviate the safety concern. We support the department in that regard and are prepared to testify and do all the things that we need to do. Once DEC's hearing process resolves, we will also modify our permit. Basically taking away 8 slips out of 90 in order to make it a safer environment for everybody out there.
And there's some chance that the department may reach an accommodation with the marine owner. Wherever that process ends up, we would mirror that.
Right.
Where's that located? Where's the issue?
It is Reed's Boat Works. It is between the Mayfield Yacht Club and
Mayfield.
Yeah.
Chair and I have been discussing this very issue recently.
But anyway, that's it.
Any other questions for Mr. Leslie?
I'll just note, again, static is a word that we've heard around here maybe from time to time, 5 years ago when I started. It has been anything but in the legal department recently, and with Brookfield heating up, I think Mr. Leslie's going to have a very busy couple of years. I do want to note, and we have a meeting coming up on the operational side, I've said this before, is I'm around talking to people. Everybody around the lake knows about this dispute with Brookfield and what the loss of revenue has meant. people offered their support. What can we do to be helpful? Mr. Chairman, we, many members of the board have talked about being more aggressive, more vocal. I just want to underscore, if I can, or continue good working relationship on an operational level with the people at Brookfield locally, separate and distinct from the very significant legal dispute financial dispute. Thanks.
Yep.
Very important. Council. You gotta take the chance, sir.
And on this marina issue, just, I heard from our former director, the assemblyman,
Mhm.
and he is sort of on the side of the marina. He didn't really but he said safety he thought was the wrong way to go because it sets a dangerous precedent. If somebody drowns in the lake or something, and he would like to see it resolved without any court, ruling. Just, he gave me a call and we discussed it, so he's aware of what's going on there. They appealed to him.
Sure. We would be willing to talk to the assemblyman. No issue with that.
I think Tim is calling you, Mr. Chairman.
No. Man, it's not a phone call.
Does it show up Assemblyman's phone?
Yeah. That's right.
I'm sitting on the tile.
Ah,
That's what happened. Anyway, so we'll keep an eye on that as you are, so. Okay, any other questions for General Counsel? If not, Director of Administrative Services.
Thank you. My report is located on page 80 and details the work I completed during the reporting period. On pages 81 through 83 are the contract status sheets. They're included in your board packet to satisfy the public authority law requirement. Just one item worth noting is accepting and reviewing applications for the seasonal labor position. We have interviewed 2 people and have extended an offer of employment to 2 people. One started today at the Sacramento field office. Another one will be starting on July 1st at the Sacramento field office. As of today, we have no one for Tompkinsville or the Black River area. If you have any questions, contact me with my report.
Any questions or comments? Thank you.
None of these kids want to work that much.
Well, Stillwater, when I talk to kids, they say it cost me X amount to drive up there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
You need somebody staying at Grandma's.
yes.
well, actually, I think they can make more money on other jobs, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're paying people now, but I don't know.
You can make $22 at McDonald's.
They look at me, they laugh.
Chief Fiscal Officer, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can find the CFO report on page 84 of your packet. We have talked extensively about the regulating district's finances this morning, so the only items from my summary that I'll bring to your attention are the ongoing efforts to finalize the financing arrangement for the Indian Lake with DFC, and that we are kicking off the audit of the current fiscal year with our new auditors tomorrow. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has about any or all of that.
And we have some board member expenses.
Indeed we do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call your attention to the signed affidavit you can find on page 106 of your packet. It lists necessary and reasonable expenses incurred by board members relating to their participation in April and May board meetings. Article 3, Section 2 of the Regulating Districts bylaws require the board to approve payment before any reimbursement can be made. Before you ask for a motion to approve these expense reimbursements, let me offer to answer any questions that anyone has.
Okay, motion to approve the expenses.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I will second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all.
Next, our chief engineer, Mr. Polkin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report is on page 107. Our reservoir, 57 Stillwater is tracking right where we hope to have it tracked this time of the year. Fortune 6 Lake maintained right at the target elevation. We expect it to provide the best recreational opportunity for those folks. And Great Sacandaga Lake is tracking and slowly coming down in terms of elevation, consistent with the target. Stillwater, we have seen below average precip. But I am pleased to say that we are just about to intersect the target curve and will continue to be ramping up the releases in order to start that drawdown.
There's some mud starting to show up there in Bigger River Station, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Also included in the report, a summary of activities at Indian Lake. Yeah, any further questions on that in particular, but we're making progress with both the drilling and grouting of the non-overflow structure, preparing for anchoring at the walkway of piers over the spillway, and making some good progress with the repointing of all of the stone face on the upstream and downstream sections of the structure. Here's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Any board member questions or comments? I need a resolution for our next board meeting, which is scheduled for September 10th. Note that there's no August meeting here at SFO.
Or July.
We have a motion for the September 10th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I will second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
11:37.